Welcome back again. And now it's time for our final presentation of the day. And we are thrilled to welcome Professor Teemu Roos, leader of AI education, Finnish Centre for AI, Department of Computer Science at the University of Helsinki. And he will be discussing how we can democratize AI through building public understanding and awareness. Professor Roos' research interests include the theory and applications of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. He developed the Elements of AI online course, which plays a pivotal role in Finland's unique, inclusive AI strategy. Welcome, Teemu.
Thank you very much, Kate, and thanks for having me. It's such a great pleasure to share this final session with all the audience. I'll just share my screen and we can get going. There we go. Okay, so my name is Teemu Roos and I'm from the University of Helsinki and the Finnish Centre for AI. The topic of today has many times touched on democratizing AI and making AI more ethical. And I think one of the main ways of doing that and working towards that is through building public understanding and awareness so that we would all be able to take part in the discussions that we have to go through to make AI more ethical or its use more responsible. So we'll start with the kind of status quo at the time. Time being, we are all hearing about AI from all directions, from the press, from fiction, movies, and from other people. But the problem is that we're usually hearing about myths rather than the reality. So if we take this sort of myth-busting state of mind, we might want to ask which of the myths, which of the things that people are talking about so prominently and so actively are actually real, and which ones of them should be busted. There's myths about superintelligence maybe taking over, becoming more smart and intelligent than the humankind. There's projections of how fast self-driving cars will be driving in our streets. There's predictions and forecasts about how many jobs are going to be displaced by AI in the coming years. There's all kinds of stories about algorithmic bias. And I should emphasize here that, as in the spirit of the Mythbusters TV show, some of these myths will stand. And for instance, of course, algorithmic bias is something that is not only a myth. But what we need to do is go beyond the myths and go beyond the surface level to get to the root and get to be able to understand which of the ones of these topics are actually reality and which are not. Why? Well, first of all, if we don't do that, if we are only afraid of AI, if we feel negatively about the impact of AI in our lives without trying to understand what it is about, we will simply not be able to take and enjoy the benefits of modern AI applications. So we'll miss out on a lot of useful things and a lot of fun things too. Of course, if the society where we're living doesn't appreciate the opportunities and the benefits of AI for the society, we will invest in its research and the development. So we will be missing out on world-class science, and likewise in the industry, we will be basically missing out on the fruits of that world-class science, which would be innovation and development of new products and new business. So basically our competitiveness. But I would still say that these three drawbacks and these three risks of not being interested, not being engaged with AI are secondary. These are not the ones that I really wanted to talk about today. There's an even more interesting and more acute problem that we will be facing if people are not aware of what AI is. And that would be what I call the societal cost. And by that, I mean the fact that if people are ignorant, if they don't know even the basics of AI, they are not able to take part in the public discourse. And of course, our democratic decision-making, our democratic societies are sort of built around that discourse, built around the equal say by everyone, not only some select experts. And the argument why this discourse is so fundamental is that we can think of AI as a tool, and as other tools, it can be used for good or for evil or bad. And I intentionally don't put a full stop at the end of this sentence. I don't want to end the story here, and I don't think anybody who is talking about tech should end their sentence and saying, well, it's not my business, I'm just developing a tool. Rather, we should sort of continue the sentence and admit that the decisions that we have to make, especially about the technology such as AI, are really not, and the problems and the solutions are not found only inside, in the technology, but it's the applied use of that and the responsible use of that. So in that sense, we could argue that the decisions that we need to make about how AI is going to impact our societies are not really technological decisions, which kind of techniques we develop, but more like societal, or I could even say political decisions about how we regulate its use. And again, we can't engage in that societal discussion if there's a lot of people who are not able to understand even the basics of AI. Okay, so how do we solve this problem? First of all, I think everybody who is any kind of an expert who has come to know about AI through their work or through studying, they should reach out and they should share what they have learned. They should be more open in terms of spreading their knowledge. And of course, we need journalists reporting what we're saying, and they should also be responsible in how they're reporting. So clickbaits or these kind of hyped up alarmist or overly optimistic news pieces and headlines should be dumped. The general public, of course, and us all should be able to be more critical about what we hear. So I would, of course, also encourage everybody to be critical of what I'm saying, even though in some ways I have the position of an expert. But the general public should have enough basic knowledge about AI so that they can read through those clickbaits, and when they will hear something that is really not entirely correct. And everything has to be built on education. Everything is really built on education. So we need to have AI education on all levels, from kids to grown-ups and people past their working life, and anything between, should be accessible by all. What we have done is to sort of realize this goal is the Elements of AI course, among other things. The Elements of AI is a free online course. It's maybe 30 hours, might be much less if you have some background in the topic, which has become reality as a public-private collaboration between the University of Helsinki and a technology company called Reactor, based in Helsinki as well. We launched 2 years ago, a bit over 2 years ago. Now we've already have over 500,000 participants taking the course. And it's really intended for all. There's no coding requirement required. There's no complicated mathematics required. So it is suitable without any background in technology. And so what I really like to think of it as being about is AI literacy in some ways, being able to read more about AI. And the components of that involve things like statistical thinking. How do you deal and how do you formally process statistical information or numbers or data? And then there are topics like machine learning or neural networks, which are kind of going into the details to a level where it's still accessible by everyone. But it helps people then really understand what are the opportunities, what are the limitations also of these methods, what can be done and what can't be done by AI. And if you understand these limitations, you will be much better able to understand also the societal implications. How, for instance, algorithmic bias arises, how what kind of jobs might be at risk of being displaced, and so on and so on. So it's really steered towards understanding those societal implications, but by means of understanding something about the techniques. As a Finn, I guess it would be hard for me to sort of brag and boast too much about what sort of acclaim the course has received. But at least I've been very happy to receive positive feedback from the students from all over the world. So we have this online community where I've discussed with people, well, really all over the world, from Nigeria to the UK to India and Finland, of course. So it's really wonderful to see how people are really keen to understand the basics and not sort of scared of the topic as they sort of learn to understand that it's really not black magic or rocket science. We also wanted to make it accessible despite people's language skills. So even though we started in the English language, and then soon after that the Finnish language, we've already launched it in Swedish, Estonian, German, Norwegian, and Latvian. And about this time or sooner next year, we have launched it in all EU languages, so about 25 languages. And as I said, I've been really happy to see the reception really by a wide and diverse user base. We've got a much more diverse user base or student base as typical computer science courses, as the courses that I would teach at the University of Helsinki. For instance, we have in the Nordic countries, we have more female users than male users, and we've got also a fair share of people that are already in the working life or even past. So it's not a rare case that there's users over the 80 years of age. And so what we want to really spread information about and awareness about is, of course, the basics of AI, but also in a way to promote the European way of responsible use of AI. So not sort of getting away from the scaremongering and the kind of image of an arms race between different continents, but rather towards this kind of more democratic view of what AI is about and how its societal implications should be handled. We're right now very busy working on a follow-up course called Building AI, and there'll be some programming exercises in the course, and we're sort of trying to little by little nudge people to take little steps towards being able to actually create and actually make new contributions in the field of AI, and to work with people who are the coders. And this is coming very, very soon. We're just at the final stages of the development of the course. So all in all, I would really want to everybody to feel that AI is for you. It's not for the experts only. So people should learn it. They should at least be curious enough to take a bit bit of a look, and then have fun with it. It's really a fun topic. That's always worth reminding us about. It's really sort of important topic, but it's also very, very fun. And then when you learn to know it, you'll probably be able to form quite an informed opinion on it, and based on that, you can start getting involved and making a change and being a part of responsible use of AI and making the world simply a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As a fellow educator, I love to see this. This is really good. So, if you want to hear any more from Teemu, you can head over to the Q&A session. There will be a link appearing now in the chat window where you can discuss this in further detail. So I think it's been
really fun.
Thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed that. And it's been such a wonderfully informative day today, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone again at the next Inspired AI session, and that's going to be 15 on the 24th of September, where we're going to be looking at the state of AI with Facebook, Amazon, Ocker Technologies, and Cove, to name a few. But for now, head over to the sessions area of the platform, where you'll find our networking lounge is now open. Inside here, you can use the chat on the right-hand side to start a conversation, or click on the participate button to share your audio and camera and go live on screen. And you can have up to 9 people on screen at any time. If you want to start a topic of your own, you'll also be able to create your own subgroups. Just click on the add session button in the top right corner, complete the details, and your session will appear. Invite people to join by posting in the networking lounge or in the event chat. Feel free to create groups based on topic, based on industry, geography, things that have interested you today, whatever you like. Now, the only thing left for me to do is hand over for some closing words to the woman who made this all happen, the amazing Sarah Porter.